Namaskar. The Iran-Israel conflict has intensified now in its several days, with both nations launching direct airstrikes. Israel conducted military operations against Iranian proxies after a Hamas terror attack, relying on steadfast US support. The US engaged in a direct military conflict with Iran. The United States continues to firmly support Israel, providing substantial grants, military aid, and weaponry, alongside unwavering diplomatic backing. Israel is a close non-NATO ally with bipartisan support from the US. Despite personal differences with Netanyahu, the former POTUS, Joe Biden, supported Israel's military efforts. The current President Donald Trump continues his unwavering support for Israel. Unlike the UK or Germany, Israel maintains its independence from the US, making their relationship distinct. In this video, we delve deeply into the reasons for the US unwavering support for Israel, examining the bilateral relations as well as the strategic, historical, and geopolitical interests shared by these two countries. Additionally, we will explore what India can learn from this relationship and what it needs to do to improve its global influence. The US-Israel relationship: a history of strategic partnership. After World War II, the US backed the establishment of a Jewish state, but the connection in its early years was not especially notable. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy highlighted it as a special relationship based on a mutual commitment to Israel's right to peaceful existence. This bond truly started to strengthen after the 1967 war. Israel defeated a coalition of Arab states with minimal casualties and little external aid, occupying new territories like Gaza and the West Bank. The US was worried about the Soviet influence and the potential for a Cold War proxy conflict, but saw Israel's swift victory as advantageous. This occurred while the US was focused on the Vietnam War and was unable to engage militarily in the Middle East. The key aspect of the 67 war was Israel's decisive victory over the Arabs in 6 days without any American military aid, said Joel Benin, a Middle East history professor at Stanford University. This demonstrated to the US that Israel was a strong ally, especially as the US was struggling in Vietnam, leading to a gradual strengthening of ties. The US initially provided and sold weaponry to Israel and allowed them to borrow from the US banks at lower rates for development. In 1980s and 90s, the US and Israel began collaborating on weapon research, development, and production. In 1999, as President Bill Clinton aimed to foster lasting peace between Israel and its Arab neighbors, the US signed the first of three 10-year memorandums to provide billions in annual military aid. After 9/11, funding advanced Israel's surveillance technology and signal intelligence, making them as good as or better than the US by the 2000s, Benin said. In 2011, Israel deployed the Iron Dome, a US-funded short-range missile defense system using radar to intercept rockets from Hamas and other militants. Israel receives $3.8 billion in annual US military aid under a 2019 agreement, making up about 16% of its 2022 military budget. While significant, Israel is less dependent on US aid than before. This relationship has significantly advanced the sophistication of the Israeli armed forces, said Michael Hanna, the US director of the International Crisis Group. Israel's unique relationship with the US is demonstrated by the US commitment to maintaining Israel's qualitative military edge, ensuring its military superiority in the region. Israel has developed advanced manufacturing capabilities, enabling it to produce most weapons independently, except possibly F-16 and F-35 jets, although some parts are made in Israel. This has positioned Israel as the 10th largest military exporter globally and made the US reliant on Israel. The military-industrial surveillance complexes of both the countries are tightly intertwined, Benin said. American capacities now depend somewhat on Israel. Why the US regards Israel as central to its strategic calculus. The US has strong historical and economic ties to Israel, supporting its formation since World War II. It is Israel's top trading partner with annual bilateral trade of nearly $50 billion in goods and services. US officials assert that America's relationship with Israel is strategically valuable for stabilizing the Middle East and ensuring access to its vital oil supply. Initially, Israel countered Soviet influence, a role that continued post-Cold War and intensified after 9/11. With some attackers being Saudi citizens, the US, doubting its reliance on Saudi Arabia, learned more on Israel due to shared values and interests, including democracy. However, Netanyahu's undemocratic plan to overhaul the Israeli judiciary has recently challenged this perception. It's a long-standing moral and strategic commitment, then Vice President Biden said in 2013, an independent, secure Israel is in the strategic interest of the United States. If there were no Israel, we would have to invent one. Israel has been central to the US goal of creating an integrated, prosperous, and secure Middle East, as the US shifts focus to the other regions like Russia and China. The Trump administration facilitated agreements for Israel to normalize relations with the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. There's speculation that Hamas attack aimed to disrupt Biden administration talks to normalize the relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, forming a united front against Iran, which supports Hamas. Israel is firmly in the American camp, no question. That's why Secretary Blinken is there to show solidarity, Benin said. The lasting alliance, Jewish and evangelical support for the US Israel partnership. The American Jewish Community (AJC) strengthens ties with Israel through advocacy, philanthropy, and cultural exchange, including political lobbying, financial support, and educational initiatives to enhance mutual understanding. The American Jewish Community advocates for the US policies supporting Israel's security with organizations like AJC, strengthening US Israel ties. They combat anti Semitism and anti Zionist rhetoric to protect Jewish communities and Israel's reputation. The American Jewish philanthropy has been crucial for Israel, providing billions annually to sectors like education, healthcare, and civil society, aiding its development and well being. Jewish cultural influence on the US is extensive, impacting arts, sciences, business, sports, literature, and social justice. Jewish Americans have significantly contributed to popular culture, cuisine, intellectual discourse, and political activism. Programs like AJC's Project Interchange provide American Jewish leaders with educational experiences in Israel, enhancing their understanding and appreciation of the country's culture, society, and challenges. Many evangelical Christians strongly support Israel, primarily due to their interpretation of biblical prophecy and theology regarding the end times. They believe Israel's establishment fulfills prophecy and is crucial for Jesus Christ's second coming, leading them to view Israel as divinely ordained and support its policies. Jewish individuals have a significant history in the financial industry, particularly on Wall Street. Many prominent figures and firms in finance have been Jewish, including influential families like the Warburgs and Schiffs. Prominent Jewish personalities in Wall Street include Larry Fink, Steve Schwarzman, Jamie Dimon, and Charles Schwab. Wall Street has substantial investments in the American military-industrial complex, tech sector, and other critical sectors. American Jews hold considerable influence in critical industries, which include tech, manufacturing, banking, and so on. The US Jews make up around 8% of the billionaires, despite making up only 2.4% of the population. It's not an absurdly overrepresentation, but it's too big a difference to chalk up to a random chance. Beyond allies, the future of shared interests and values. In summary, despite some challenges in the US Israel relationship, it is expected to remain robust and lasting due to mutual strategic interest and a long standing alliance. Nonetheless, effectively managing the intricacies of domestic politics, regional conflicts, and varying policy strategies will be essential for sustaining a healthy and productive partnership in the future. Strategic solidarity: insights for India from globally influential Jewish community. Beyond shared history and cultural ties, religion acts as a compelling force in deepening diplomatic relations and expanding global influence between the nations. The Jewish community has faced significant oppression, ranging from genocide to anti Semitic crimes. However, these hardships have fortified their faith and determination for communal unity. The global influence of the Jewish community is a testament to this resilience. Historically, from the Rothschilds to contemporary billionaires, Jews have been recognized as central figures of power and influence. Their strength is rooted in leveraging adversity, their willingness to take risks, and their unconventional problem solving approaches. In the 1950s, Israel was quite similar to India. It lacked a major power to support its economy or interests. In fact, Israel's situation was even more challenging than India's, as the Jewish people had never had their own homeland. Once they secured their own land, they put in great effort both within Israel and abroad. They developed a strategy to ensure their nation's internal success and to enhance their global influence. Israelis remained united and vigorously confronted their internal adversaries. They appealed to the world for support of their cause. Israel strengthened its global influence by leveraging its overseas community. Israel penetrated into the deep state through political lobbying groups. That's why it enjoys bipartisan support from the US. All these elements have contributed to strengthening their ties with the world superpower, the United States. The United States supports Israel as a result of the relentless efforts of the Israelis. India should emulate Israel's strategies. It is important for Indians to remain united and actively address internal challenges. India should support its diaspora consistently to gain advantages. India should penetrate even deeply into the deep state of the US or EU. Investing significantly in political and religious lobbying groups can substantially enhance India's global presence. Similar to Israel, India can utilize religion to expand its global influence by supporting Hindu missionaries to promote its religious teachings and cultural heritage. India has a large diaspora in multiple nations, but India needs to take leverage of them by supporting them. In one of the podcasts, EAM S. Jaishankar spoke about reverse brain drain and building a strong Indian diaspora. China follows this approach, but India should intensify its efforts. India is following a non-alignment foreign policy, meaning India is not aligned with either of the blocs, the West and the East. India is managing a delicate balance between these two power centers by choosing self-interest beyond the interest of either of the blocs. This is a smart move in the current context, but this policy has its own challenges. Given the ongoing diplomatic pressure from the US and China, it is crucial for India to enhance its global influence to achieve the status of a high-income nation. In your opinion, how can India enhance its influence on the global stage? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Remember to click the bell icon to get notified about future updates. Thank you so much for watching.